So the first thing I just want to talk about is, what do you want to do? When I was in year 9, I started thinking about this. What do I find interesting, and what do I want to pursue later on? And I looked at my interests, and I realized the majority of the time I was reading about health. I was reading about biology. I find myself on Wikipedia reading about loads of different diseases and things like that, reading about anatomy, helping GCSE PE students with their coursework and homework. I listened to podcasts about health. And I came to the conclusion that I wanted to study medicine. And this is all I thought about. I'd come to that conclusion, and I sort of built this tunnel vision that medicine was the path for me, and I looked no further elsewhere. So after my GCSEs, I started on my A-levels. I got some work experience working in a hospital. I loved it. After that, after the first year of my A-levels, when I'd applied for university, I did all of the entrance exams, I had the work experience, I was doing all of this extracurricular reading outside, but I was unsuccessful. And that was quite a low point for me. So I decided, I'm going to take a gap year, I'm going to reinvent myself, I'm going to become even better as an applicant, and I'll apply it again for medicine. And this time, I'm going to get it. So I went through the processes, I got a bit more work experience, I started reading books on medical ethics, followed even more podcasts. I really wanted to understand more about the field of medicine. And then what happened was, I got rejection again. 2 years straight, I had rejections in medicine, and my heart was set from when I was 14 on studying medicine. So it was like heartbreak for me. It was really hard. And it's like you've planned your life a certain way, and then suddenly it's just broken down. And I thought to myself, I can't take another year doing this. I can't just take out another gap year and reapply. So what I did was, I thought, you know what? I like medicine, I like the human body. What I'll do is I'll study pharmacy. It's kind of related. So I applied in Newcastle Adjustment for pharmacy, and I got it. So I jumped into pharmacy, I really liked the subject, but the more I studied it, I realized that I didn't want to be a pharmacist. Like, the health sciences are interesting, but I can't pursue that later on. So what I did was I started looking around. Now at UCL, there are so many different opportunities available to you. I started looking at all the different societies that I'd contacted during Questions Fair. So the Tech Society, the Entrepreneurship Society, the Business Society, Economics and Finance. And I started attending all of their workshops and finding out a bit more of what else was out there. But I didn't really find anything that I found that interesting. I was exploring different avenues, but there was nothing in particular that I saw myself going into. So later on in the year, this is around exam season, and I'm revising for my first year exams. And a friend of mine, she walks past my computer, and she looks at my screen, and she's just surprised. I wasn't looking at anything dirty, but what happened was I was reading documentation for a new programming language. And I never realized that I was doing this. Whilst I was meant to be revising for my exams, I was procrastinating by reading something very beneficial for me, but probably not helpful in my degree. So I thought about this a bit more. Like, why am I doing this? What things do I actually find interesting? I looked more, and I realized I actually didn't know this, but I was spending a lot of my time coding. I learned some basic web development, and I was coding, I was learning different languages, but I never paid much attention to it. And this is the point where I realized, I need to take a step back. Like, early on in medicine, when I wanted to apply for medicine, I didn't take that step back. I just jumped straight in. But this time around, I took a step back, and I really scrutinized my decision And I thought to myself, I know I don't want to be a pharmacist later on. I know I don't want to continue with this. But is computer science the right choice for me? Should I pursue this avenue? And I looked at my interests, and I just came to the conclusion that yes, this is what gets me out of bed in the morning. I spend all of my time reading about this. I find this so interesting, and I'm so enthused by it. So this is when I came to the conclusion that I wanted to study computer science. So the next challenge for me was getting the right skills. I wanted to study computer science, and I thought about, what do I want to do with that? I mean, do I just want to study it as a subject, or do I see anything in the future? And the more I looked into it online, and my skill set, what I found interesting was that I wanted to pursue software engineering. So I had that vision. At the end of the road is software engineering. And I don't mean at the end of the road like 20 years time. I mean for the foreseeable future, next 3 to 5 years, this looks like something that I really want to do. So I'm going to get more experience to take myself there. I'm going to take steps, small steps, like Aman said, small steps just to get to my vision. So I started learning different programming languages, and I really branched out. I started reading online Q&A websites about what different software engineering roles involve, what different companies like, and I started doing those things. I started looking at online courses. I started learning different languages. And this was the first step for me in moving closer towards software engineering. So finding the right opportunities. I decided what I wanted to do. I decided how I was going to get there. I decided on what skills I needed to get there. But now I needed to find a company or a job or a role that I could put myself in and get some real experience doing what I wanted to do. So at university, like I mentioned, there's all these societies, and they're all doing things, and they're great ways to get experience. So what I did was I didn't just limit myself to UCL and all of the societies that it had to offer. I started branching out. I started looking at other universities. I started looking at what King's were doing, Queen Mary's were doing. And I found out that King's Tech Society was a new society, and it was doing really well. Like the founder was really entrepreneurial. They were building links with big companies. And so I signed up to their mailing list. And lo and behold, during the end of my year in pharmacy, they advertised a job role, and this is for a summer internship at a company called Code Academy, and I immediately, my eyes lit up. Because if you know what Code Academy is, if you want to learn programming, it's probably the first place you go to. They've got over 30 million active users per year, so they're really big, and I immediately applied for the role. A bit of time later, they sent me some questions to answer. I answered these, and I went through the whole interview process, and I got a job there. And that's a really important point. Like branching out, looking elsewhere, and seeing where you can get opportunities. Right now at UCL, for all the different societies and all the events that they've got going on, they've got dinners with big companies coming down. If you're interested in that sort of thing, there's a lot of opportunity out there to get involved with those things. So, showcasing your skills. So you know what you want to do, you've decided how to get there, and now you've got the skills. How do you show people, I've got these skills, hire me, or I've got these skills, I'm the best person to take up this role? I'm not going to go into a lot of depth, but I want to touch on the CV. And one thing that's really important about the CV that everyone's mentioned so far is focusing on impact. Don't just gloss over a detail. Like, say what you did, how you did it, and the impact that it had. Because later on in my gap year, after I decided to intern at Code Academy, I took a gap year, and in that year I decided to study for computer science and apply for it. So in that gap year, I got a job as a software engineer at a startup. And I remember at one point, I built a email template, and this was really easy. It was a pretty simple task. You design an email and you build it, and they use them. And I put that down in my CV as design an email template. And then later on, I asked around about it. I said, what do you think my CV looks like? Like Jan said, like I asked people's opinion, how do you think my CV looks? And my employer at the time, he told me, this line over here, where I've mentioned this email template, what actually came of it. So I spoke to the people at Azuna, the company where I worked as a software engineer, and they told me, wait a minute, quite a lot happened because of this email template. I asked more questions and I found out, whoa, it actually increased click-through rates by 20%. Now, for a company that gets all of its money from clicks, that was a 10% increase in revenue. So that small email template made them over £500,000 for that year. A small 3-day job made that big a difference to their revenue. And this was why having that simple line, made an email template, just won't cut it. You have to focus on the impact you made. So, like, designed and built an email template that led to a 10% increase in revenue, or something like that. Really showing how much of an impact what you have done has had. So, it might not just be to do with revenue, it might be to do with how much money you've made, or how many views something that you've made has got. So one of the final things I want to touch on is defining what you want. So when you apply for an internship or you apply for a role, it's not just about the role in itself, like how Nafisa said, I want to work at PwC, I want to do consulting. It's not just about that. You have to really think about, what do you want to get out of this role? What do you value? Like for me, I value my time. When I was interning at Code Academy, my manager, she used to be a strategy consultant at Bain. And she would tell me that her normal workday would start at around 8 a.m. and end at 10 p.m. That's a 14-hour workday. And I thought to myself, I could never sacrifice my time in that way. I could never make my life just on the weekends. Now for her, that might be something she's very willing to do. She might be very willing to spend time learning about her industry. But for me, my time is a lot more important. Another thing in defining what you want is, what do you want to get out of an internship? Like Arman said, he focused on getting international experience. Now, do you want to work at a startup? Do you want to work at a big company? Like, there are very big differences between those two. Like at a startup, you'd get a very big, meaty project where you could really take responsibility and learn a lot from. Whereas at a big corporation, you might find that you have a very specialized subject. What you work on is very small. It might not have a very big impact, but you might learn a lot from it. And coming to the present, so my work at Code Academy was mainly focused on education and technology. And one of the key work experiences I've had since I was about 17, I started working at schools, was in education. And I've realized that for me, education is really important, especially for my time here at UCL. And like communicating information, getting people to understand things, these are really important things that should be scrutinized a lot more. And so I came together with a couple of friends, and Ismail included, and we wanted to start a venture. And we wanted to really change how education works. Like, what makes a good teacher? And we started working with world-class academics and speaking to them about what makes education great, what makes a great teacher. And our venture is basically an app that connects tutors to students. And it facilitates the entire education pathway. So at the end of it, we're helping to match a tutor to the student and help them to learn. At the same time, we're trying to really enrich the education experience for them. We're trying to figure out what makes a great teacher and apply that to the teaching experience. So if anyone's interested in that or anything else, you can have a talk with me afterwards. That's pretty much for everything on my end. Thank you very much for your time.